since 2012, we've studied trust in depth. So by conducting the BrandSpark Most Trusted Survey. So we have the honor and the privilege to evaluate each of these brands and award the winners each year. The study is annual. It's over, Adam talked about over 30,000 consumers, almost 300 categories this year, hundreds of thousands of open-ended responses. And this is just 1 year of 12 that we have access to. As a data nerd, this is like a gold mine for me every year that I get to play in it. But really, this database allows really 3 key questions. One, who they trust, and that's which brands do they trust the most in their category, which is awards the winner. Why do they trust that brand? So hundreds of open-end questions on why they decide to trust that brand and what drives their trust. Really, we've tried to get a really better understanding of the quantitative measures of trust, because trust in essence is a very esoteric idea. And when we deal with marketers, they're very actionable oriented people. And that's how our thinking of trust has really evolved. And you can think of trust almost like Maslow's hierarchy. And this is why we have our BrandSpark hierarchy of trust, because that's how we think about trust. Trust is built on that foundation. You have to build the foundation of the value equation before a brand you even get in a mindset with the consumer. You have to deliver, and you're like Nuno said, there's many different types of value equations. You can be high and low, or you can be low price, low quality, but it's that mixture of how you create that for the consumer that creates the foundation. Then you start building on top of that, and the reassurance, it's the consistency of delivery of your brand. It's the warranties that you provide. It's the transparency on the pricing that you give them. You give them a reassurance that you're not trying to scam them. I think one of my favorite stats always in our other program is we love a value. We don't like to be ripped off as Canadians. That's the biggest thing that you can do to affect me and take away my trust, is if I feel you're trying to scam me the other way. After that, though, you really need to enhance trust and deepen it. Really, we find comes down to 3 main factors: innovation. You can leverage innovation, you can leverage heritage, and you can leverage recommendation and credentialing as well. So these are 3 areas that really help enhance that consumer's trust with your brand if they have one of those key factors. Now you can start, once you've established that, now you can start talking about aligning to their values, caring about what they care about on their day-to-day, sustainability, some of these dynamics. But a lot of that messaging that marketers do is at the top of that pyramid, and it gets no ROI because the base is not built below that, and it's a wasted money. So when we work with our clients, we always reiterate that dynamic of trust. So this is what we've learned over the years, but this year we went a little bit deeper, because every year I have clients that come to me and they say, it's good enough, I'm trusted. My clients say they trust me. That's good. Why do I have to worry about my brand? Or even today, some of you will be here. My brand is the most trusted. Why do I have to worry about my brand? I'm the most trusted brand. I don't have to. I should be able to charge the most. I'm the best. So we took that to heart, and we said, okay, we really have to better understand this landscape, because we've learned there's degrees of trust, and that you have to think of trust both from a category point of view. So a lot of our awards that someone mentioned today were very specific on category, because people buy categories. People don't buy companies. That's why these big macro award companies doesn't really have a lot of impact on the consumer unless it's category focused. And so we wanted to ask some simple questions like, how much do you trust versus the competition? How much more are you willing to pay? Will you do that in the future? Will you buy us? And we have a whole, literally tons of stats, and I'm happy to share. But today I'm just going to share a few key ones that really kind of knocked us over the head. Just to outline that first is how we think about trust is really 4 degrees. So you either trust less than the competition, it's pretty obviously. You trust equally to your competition. You trust a little bit more than your competition, or you trust much more than your competition. And that much more competition is really the gold standard and what we call resilient trust. So to trust your brand much more than a competitive option. And the first thing is, we asked on this secondary study about 7,100 consumers over 100 different categories in this study. And we asked them, here's a category. Tell me the last brand you bought in this category, the last product. We had about each person answered a couple times. We had about 17,000 different purchase occasions, state occasions. What we learned is, out of all of those purchases, only 2% of those that people said that I trust that brand less. So what trust really is people are buying a product, it's a cost of entry. But what we found after that is, so people are not going to, if they say they don't trust you, you're never going to be bought. So that's just the cost of entry. But now that trust actually divides pretty equally above that on average. So about 1/3 of your consumers say they equally trust you. About 1/3 will say they trust you a little bit more, and 1/3 will say that resilient, I trust you much more. And so what we started looking at is different levels of trust. What does that actually mean? What does that actually mean to you as a business? And the biggest first impact we said is price premium. How much more are you willing to pay for your trusted brand? And so what we asked is, when you're saying that brand's an equally brand, it's 9% price premium. I'm willing to pay for this trusted brand 9%. But when you get up to that resilient trust, consumers are willing to pay 15% price premium for that product. So that not only protects your margins against no name, where many of you are fighting against, but also protects your margin against competitive price and sales strategies. Like you say, that 2%, maybe, and I read on those open ends, those are that's what you're going to get with the deep discounts. You get that 2% switch, I'll finally trust, okay, fine, I don't trust it, but it's such a good deal. It's so cheap, I'll do it. But that's very rare, and resilient trust, those protects you against those little things, the 10% off sales that you have to compete with every day as a in retail environments. The other area, and where resilience really hit us over the head, is future purchase intent. So we ask consumers, what is the likelihood, and this is definitely, I don't know if how many people are access to research. I'm a research guy, so a lot of people put top 2 box and you get like 80%. A lot of people say these things. I'm a big believer, top box is you definitely say you're going to purchase this next time. 68% of consumers said if that brand was more trusted than others, they were definitely going to buy that the next time they go shop in that category. That's huge. And a little more, only 26, equal trust, almost if you're as equally trusted as your competition, or even a little bit more, which a lot of our winners are, just a little bit more, there's a huge dynamic increase in terms of future loyalty that you can generate from your consumer base by working on that trust and continually to build that resiliency in your trust and deepening it. Now, I'd love to say it can come from many different categories. So on average, it's about 1/3 of a brand's consumers are resilient. But here are a bunch of winners that I'd like to share that have resilience over 50%. So every brand has the opportunity to really deepen that trust. So there's ways to grow trust and, you get the scale and create the value and create the idea. But to deepen that trust, you have to be a real strong brand. And some of these are coming. You look at the heritage brands, Barbie, Crown Royal, Kraft. They really are, the heritage dynamic has really elevated their brand. But you're also allowed to do it in innovative categories. CeraVe, Braun. These are really high-tech categories that they're in, and they're able to establish that sort of resilience of trust. And then, obviously, in very competitive categories. You look at online casino and the amount of money that's spent to try to take that brand off of that threshold within Ontario over the last 2 years. I would say the millions and billions of dollars in casino gambling, but they still resolve it because it's such a strong, resilient trust. Another group that I wanted to share that had high trust, another competitive category, exterior paint, Behr. It's a highly competitive category, but they're able to really create that sense of resilience within their customer base. Of course, you have some of the Costco, as you alluded to. I think Costco is also one of the brands that we study in trust and is probably one of the top brands in terms of how to execute no name and take the power of no name into a branding situation. But also the top one here on here that I want to point out, and these are all over 50%, so really, really strongly resilient brands. But you look at Dyson on air purifier. And I apologize to my friends from Helen of Troy here, but the Dyson is so strong. 3/4 of their consumers say they trust this brand much more. All these consumers at this price point are still willing to pay up to 20% more for this product. Dyson, surprisingly, is leaving money on the table, according to our research, even for the high-end brand. So it can happen in all different categories, all different industries. Even one, and I put it on my favorite because it's one of the highest, is I'm a fisherman, so Rapella is one of the most trusted brands. If someone had to ask me, I was like, that's one of mine if it was on my list. And it's because they focus on innovation, they focus on their consumer, and they're always consistent in terms of their delivery on their products. So it was just really good that we can see it from a whole bunch of different ways. And like I said, how did these brands do it? It's simple. It is, they've built the foundation of their trust, and then they start building on top of that. And they didn't jump all the way to the top. They didn't start telling you, they didn't come out as a new brand and tell you that, you know what, they love your dogs and they're good for the environment and they're donating $40 million to this charity. No, they built a value product that you care about as a consumer. They made you feel, okay, you reassure that I'm buying the right thing at the right time. Now you're giving me something a little extra, that innovation, or I know you've been around heritage for a long time, or you got a recommendation, all these people love it, so it's now building that shop. And now I'm open to those ideas of you telling me about your alignment. And now that's going to have, because it does have massive impact on your trust, but you need to build that below. And that's kind of one of the messages we always want to say. So really just the three things really quickly I want to share with you, make sure you take away from trust today is always think of trust in a category or in competitive context. I think it's one of those areas that changes a lot through category and context. If you're less trusted than competitors, unlikely you're ever even going to get purchased. So trust is just the first layer. And if you think you're trusted, well, every brand's trusted. Every consumer will say their brand that you just bought is trusted. And building trust that's resilient really allows you to command that price premium and that future loyalty. So that's really what you want to focus on. Thank you very much for your time, everybody.